Mr. Sarkaria, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today for an episode of Corner Stories. We know how busy you are, especially during Small Business Week, so we really appreciate you taking the time. And I also wanted to thank you so much for your participation in National Convenience Week last month. It was a great event, and despite the fact that we still did it during a pandemic, but we're very proud to announce that we were able to raise over $70,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I was hoping to build a little bit on the conversation that we were able to share at your local Circle K, and have you further elaborate on any memories or reflections of the role small businesses like convenience stores have played in your life.
I think when we look at when you look at small businesses across the province, I think one that really sticks out to you is the convenience store business, because it's so prevalent within all of our communities. We all have one convenience store that, regardless of where we lived. If when I was a student at both Laurier and Windsor, and I needed to grab something, I always knew which store or convenience store I was going to go to. And that's a very similar story to so many people across whatever neighborhood they live in. So I think, so many times, not only just going to the store, but the person behind the counter, it also sometimes becomes a part of, whether it's a daily routine, a weekly routine, or bi-weekly routine. You get to know them. It becomes a really, I would say, a great relationship with those individuals that run these stores, because they're so connected to the community. Often, many of these businesses are family run, family owned. You've got maybe a mother and a father running the cash. You've got the children in the back stocking the shelves. You've got somebody working in there trying to make some money on the side as well. And myself being the son of two small business owners, I really understand the challenges and the needs that a business entails, and how it is such a team effort, and how important of a role it can play within the community. So, I really give it up to convenience store owners who are always there, who are always stepping up to the challenge. Doing, when we were together a couple of weeks ago, making significant charitable donations and getting together with whether it was Circle K, the one we were at, but really making a difference. Not only for the people that are there, but others all across the country as well.
Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. And that's what really our industry is all about. It's about that sort of gateway to the community. And we're finding that that's now becoming ever more important, right? During the pandemic, when people are working from home and they're looking for a reason to get out, frankly, and maybe go grab a cup of coffee or grab a snack, and hopefully the local convenience store is one of their destinations when they do that. So, as convenience stores have been there from the outset as one of the essential services during the COVID-19 crisis. We had to pivot super quickly to keep serving our customers safely and ensuring that our staff were also safe. So really the biggest challenge, not unlike other businesses, obviously, has been the increased cost due to PPE. CICC and our members were very grateful to see your government introduce supports to help businesses access PPE. And I'm just wondering if you might be able to share kind of a few more details about that announcement.
Yeah, this is the Main Street Recovery Grant. Will really provide it's in line with providing a safe environment, really encouraging people, to get out there and get back into a mode of shopping, get out to their corner stores. But more specifically, we know the challenges that small businesses have been put forward with, especially on the convenience store side. So this is really an opportunity for us to give them a grant, which is designed to help them recover and reopen all over the province. It's going to be a $1,000 grant for small businesses with 2 to 9 employees, both in the retail, food accommodations, and other service sectors, like whether it's repair, maintenance, personal, and laundry services. And based off the data that we saw, these were the businesses that have taken the most significant hit since COVID has put forward. We were speaking earlier about how not as many people are driving, and not as many people need to go to get gas, and which usually forces them to go into the convenience store in some cases. So cash flows have been hit really hard in some cases, but businesses have gone above and beyond and stepped up and provided the necessary PPE for themselves, keeping not only themselves safe, their employees safe, but also customers safe. And we want to, provide some of these smaller businesses with cash flow relief and really help them, manage. We're also trying to recommend that, those that are buying PPE and that do qualify for this program, and you can expense all the way back to as early as March this year and all the way to the end of the year. But we're recommending any future purchases, to please support Ontario Made PPE. We put together a directory as well. So as the government supports our retailers who have done an incredible job and gone above and beyond, we also ask that those applying for the program, you've already made some purchases, which you can expense to the program, but any future programs or services or PPE that you acquire into this program, we really hope that it's Ontario made, because we really all need to stick together and support each other through this pandemic.
Absolutely, and that's actually a great segue into my next question. We know that Ontario businesses sort of throughout the supply chain need to be supported, and that we, as much as possible, need to support those businesses. So one of my favorite files to talk about, earlier this month, the government confirmed that you were going to make the sale and distribution of alcohol through takeout or delivery permanent at the end of the year. And we know that initiative was obviously designed to help restaurants and the hospitality industry who were hurt by COVID. But it has raised many questions from our members who are eager to essentially have the same opportunity. So through your lens as the Minister for Small Business and Red Tape Reduction, will the government reduce regulations on the sale of alcohol in the province and expand sales to convenience stores?
So one of the key focuses of this file has always been to make common sense changes, modernize regulations, much of which some people can argue will be a bit archaic in the way that it's put forward. Working really closely with Minister Phillips' office is doing an incredible job during this pandemic and supporting businesses. But there continues to be a comprehensive review of the beverage alcohol sector, which is aimed at increasing choice, convenience, and fairness for consumers of beverage alcohol, and try to create more opportunities for businesses to compete in the sale and distribution of it. So, I think we're fairly committed. You've seen, expansion of beverage alcohol to more than about 250 new retail outlets across Ontario, including 170 LCBO convenience stores, if I'm not mistaken, and about at least over 80 grocery stores. And I think we always want to be behind, supporting meaningful change in Ontario, modernizing regulations so we're keeping up with the 21st century, which is today, and especially those regs that can support small businesses like convenience stores. So we'll continue to work with it through our sector review and work with Minister Phillips and his office to see how we can collectively all work together on this file.
That's terrific. And we, as always, stand by ready to help the government in any way that we can. As I'm sure you can well appreciate, the more products that we can sell and be that one-stop shop for consumers who, don't want to make several trips, who want to avoid the long lineups at the LCBO or even the grocery store. That's what consumers have counted on us to provide them. As you talked about, it's that convenience, it's that choice, it's that access to ensure that the shelves are well stocked, and that's what they expect from us. And when we see that our neighbors in Quebec, obviously the Dépanels have been doing this for a long time, and we know that the government is committed to moving forward on this, and any way that we can help, we're more than happy to, because it's obviously more so than ever when stores are dealing with decreased revenues and increased costs, that obviously becomes ever so more important for them. So the last question I just wanted to touch on was the topic of red tape. And I know that you've introduced 2 bills earlier this month looking at streamlining and cutting through the regulations, which have had an impact on businesses. Wondering if you can give us some insight into the process that you and your team go through, and if there's an opportunity for the small businesses like those in the convenience industry to get involved and share some of our experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, we'd love to have that involvement. And I think much of what we put forward in terms of whether it's red tape pieces of legislation is based off of conversations and discussions with industry leaders and key stakeholders and businesses themselves. We put forward the Reducing Regulatory Cost for Business Act, provided really the foundation for two legislative pieces in legislation. And that's really, policy proposal aimed at supporting small businesses and requiring less onerous requirements for small businesses. So really, from a legislative perspective, forcing legislation that's put forward in the government to really take into consideration the impacts on small business. And so when we look at legislating that and making a bit of a culture shift, or if you want to call it, from a regulation perspective, before, you've got a lot of ministries that are working sometimes together, sometimes not, but they don't realize sometimes the impacts that their approval processes might have, or the duplication they've created. Sometimes you get a federal government doing something, the provincial government, and then the municipal government doing something. We've been, put forward the requirements like regulatory impact analysis, which require you to measure the cost of each regulation on business and what the increase in that cost would be. And really, this comes down to institutionalizing, and trying to understand what really businesses mean to the people who run them, and the communities they support and the economy they support, because we need to have that focus and we need to have that lens. Over the last 2 weeks, I've had the opportunity to introduce two pieces of legislation as well, focused on red tape. The Main Street Recovery Plan, one of which might, some of the changes, as you alluded to, the permanent commitment to alcohol takeout, the commitment of allowing 24/7 supply delivery through some of our trucking partners. Many municipalities have regulations that prevent supply deliveries and require deliveries to happen between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So somewhat on the logistics side, there's a bit of a challenge there, but it's just smarter regulation. And we look at, in the red tape package that we put forward, 60 plus actions that are being taken to support businesses across the province. But if there's an opportunity for us to focus on specific issues in the convenience store industry, I know one of the big key ones, as we just discussed a couple minutes ago, was beverage alcohol. But other issues that we can bring forward would be we'd be very interested in having those discussions and having those meetings and seeing how we can, from a legislative and a regulatory perspective, support convenience stores and their owners in that legislation.
Well, that's great to hear. And yeah, we have countless examples of, just as you sort of talked about, where, convenience stores are having to deal with different departments and different levels of government. So there's not that kind of single window approach, if you will. And, some of the forms and different permits that you have to get, some of them are still paper-based. You almost wonder if you have to send it in by fax machine, or, so there is definitely an opportunity, I think, to sort of come into the 21st century, modernize some of the regulations that, made sense at the time that they were put in place, but probably have not kept pace with the modernization of a lot of these businesses who, are doing so much online, and would really appreciate that opportunity to sort of reduce that regulatory burden so that they can turn their attention to doing what they do best, which is providing essential services and goods to Canadians every day, right? So listen, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time. You've been a great champion for the convenience industry, for small businesses across the province. We truly appreciate all of your support. Very much looking forward to continuing to work with you and with government on a number of these files that we've talked about. Obviously, we didn't go into huge detail, but there is a lot on the go. We understand that, and lots of priorities. And we will continue to have these conversations and provide you with input and perspectives from our convenience store members.
Thank you so much, Anne. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you to date, and I'm really excited about some of the work that we can do together. So thank you for being a great leader during these very tough times for your industry and for your key stakeholders, and look forward to working with you to deliver some meaningful change for them, and really look forward to seeing your members apply for the Main Street grant that I'm sure will help them, and for all the work that they've done. So thank you so much, and absolute pleasure.
Thank you again. Take care.